verse 7 and verse 8. And do count them but dung, that I might win Christ, and be found in him, not having my own righteousness, which is of the law, but that which is through the faith of Christ, the righteousness which is of God by faith. He wrote verse 7. He began at verse 4, giving his resume. He said, though I might also have confidence in the flesh, if any other man think that he had whereof he might trust in the flesh, I more. Circumcised of the 8th day, of the stock of Israel, of the tribe of Benjamin, and Hebrew of the Hebrews. As touching the law, a Pharisee, concerning zeal, persecuting the church, touching the righteousness which is in the law, blameless. Paul had a testimony that he was proud of in the world, but Paul made a change in his life. And after Paul had considered everything he had accomplished in his life, he said that it was still worthless when he compared it to Christ. It was not worth knowing Christ, that I might know him and the power of the resurrection and the fellowship of his suffering. I want to talk about briefly today the strength to let go. The strength to let go. Sometimes the greatest strength we need is not to hold on, but to let go. And sometimes it's harder, let go, than to hold on. But sometimes the greatest strength we need is not to hang on, but to let go. There's some things we need to let go of. And many times what we do, we hang on to what we ought to let go of, and let go what we hang on to, what we ought to hang on to. But we need strength to let go. Paul found that strength when he met Christ. The things he had gained in the world, he counted them as worthless. They were not as valuable as what he had to look forward to. What we had to look forward to is more valuable on earth. I know many of us, we might have a few things we value, but you shouldn't put anything above knowing Christ. It should not mean more to you than knowing Christ. What was to know Christ? It was important to him. It was valuable to him. And do you place anything or anybody above your relationship with Christ? If your priorities are wrong, how will you reorder them? You gotta be like Paul, count them as dung. They're not worth anything. And he goes on to say that I may know him and the power of the resurrection and the fellowship of his suffering. We want to know, we got to know him. It means to be familiar, have a relationship with him. And Paul wanted that relationship. And if we're a child of God, we ought to count the relationship with Christ more important than natural relationships, more than friendships, more than anything that we could possess on this earth. Paul began to say, he said, we like I said, we got to just told his disciples, let him deny himself, pick up his cross and follow me daily. The hardest thing we have to do sometimes is deny ourselves. And I said many times, it's hard to let go of things that you like. It may be that favorite dessert. It's hard to let go of that. Many times that we're going on a diet, and diet means restrictions. We don't like restrictions. We can't eat this and we can't eat that. And it's hard, it's a struggle many times to let go of those things that we have to let go of. Same thing in the spirit. Many times God is trying to take us here, but we want to hang on to what we have right now. But God has greater things in store for us. And I said a while back, in cars, the rear view mirror is smaller than the windshield. Because what's behind you is less important than what God has in store for you. Paul said, I'm forgetting those things that are behind and I'm pressing toward the mark. He was not looking in the rearview mirror. He was looking at the windshield. Because God has something better in store for us. But we got to have the strength to let go. It's a struggle many times, and we wrestle many times with the things that are in our lives. But if we want to get closer to God, if you draw near to God, He will draw near to you. But there's some things in our lives that will hold us back. That's why Paul said, seeing how we are compassed about with such a great cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin that does so easily beset us. Let us run this race with patience. He understood there's things in this life that will hold us back, things that will hinder us and place in God where God wants us to be. But we got to ask God, give me that strength to let go. Sometimes there are people that we don't want to let go of, and there are things we don't want to let go of, and sometimes we don't want to let go of ourselves. Many times I'll get for 30 minutes in the house of God. Lord, give me the strength to let go.